Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be telling you all about the Xur's location as random rolls recommendations for September 10th, 2021. You can find them on the EDZ in the Winding Cove. Just make your way on top of this little cliffside. For some reason, oh, there it is. My marker is not there, but he's right here at the top of this little cliff, right at the precipice of this cliff. This is a high overview in case this is what you wanted. Let me just say the hunter armor, lots of good stats on this one too. First up today, we have the Monte Carlo, one of the more useful items in the game because it fits so well in any melee-based build to give you melee energy when you need it. Firstly, dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown, which in itself is really nice because it does not require a kill, but if you end up getting a kill, it grants a chance to fully recharge your melee ability with each one of those kills. And on top of that, it's a 600 RPM auto rifle, which I like the best. It also has a couple other things like the Markov chain, with this weapon increased damage from melee kills and kills of this weapon, which is like Swashbuckler, and melee kills grant ammo for this weapon, which is like Grave Robber. It's so many different perks in this weapon in one, and it also has high caliber rounds, which is very useful in PvP. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably use this a lot with perhaps Celestial Fire, perhaps Shurikens, or perhaps the little stasis freezing stuff. There are a lot of opportunities, and again, the 600 RPMs are going to be the better of the auto rifle. Up next, we have the Hunter Exotic known as the Liar's Handshake. This is going to be your melee-based, arc-based exotic for the Hunter. Using your arc melee ability or being hit by melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counterpunch that will heal you. And technically, you can actually combine this with other melee damage bonuses, but it doesn't stack as much as it just kind of adds to each other. But that being said, this is a really fun thing to use, and the fact that it heals you makes it a little bit better to use in the middle level play. The problem in PvP though is by the time you're being meleeed, that's usually when you're about to die. As far as the stats go, total stats 59 is a bit below average. Having a higher recovery and okay mobility is pretty nice to see. However, I'd like to see a lot more strength and a lot more mobility, and overall just a lot more total stats. I'm now just realizing that all of these items are maxed out at 1320, but like, I'm much higher than that? What's up with that? I mean, I've got like 1329s dropping. Why? Usually the Xur, I'm able to get higher levels with this. I guess maybe they changed it so you can't do that anymore. Up next for the Titan Exotic, we have the Helm Saint 14, one of the better exotics in the game because it works with the Bubble, which is one of the better supers in the game. The main perk, Starless Night, enemies that enter your Word of Dawn are blinded, while allies gain an overshield which they can take with them for a short period of time. Keeping in mind, the overshield while outside the bubble is a lot less durable than the overshield inside the bubble, which, if you didn't know, is one of the strongest resistances in the entire game. Literally, I've seen a single Titan punch out like 4 or 5 people in a row in a single bubble at the same time. And what this allows it, other than blinding the enemies that are in your shield, is that it allows you to take a little bit of an overshield out of the shield. Because what you want to do with the bubble, if you have a lot of enemies damaging you, is go in and out of the bubble really quickly to refresh that big overshield you get when inside. And having a little bit of overshield as you exit with this exotic is nice to have, and it kind of helps you get that going. For this particular exotic, obviously you'd like to see a lot of intellect. Personally, I like having a lot of recovery no matter what class I am, and obviously Resilience does actually now help with the resistance of the bubble. Now the bubble takes a lot more damage to bosses. The more resistance you have, the less the bosses do to the actual bubble itself. So resistance is actually good for this exotic. So I would say a pretty decent roll, pretty decent total stats for a pretty good exotic. Up next for the Warlock Exotic, we have the Claws of Ahamkara. Just looked over the stats, they're looking pretty good. If you've never heard of it, it gives you an additional melee charge for whatever you're using. Stasis melee, Celestial Fire melee, you can use the Arc melee, whatever melee you want to use, this will give you an extra melee, which on paper doesn't sound that great, but anything with an additional charge gives you overflow charge, because you're not going to be using your melee or your grenade or whatever it is as soon as you get it, allowing you to effectively have more of that per match. And considering how many melees are amazing in PvP with the Warlock, this really does increase their efficacy by quite a lot. Celestial Fire, the Stasis melee is still pretty strong, and this makes it even better. I think I rated this like an 8 or 8.5 out of 10 for PvP. This thing is excellent. As far as your roll goes, I'd like to see recovery and strength, and it's exactly what it has. On top of that, it also has low mobility, which is exactly what you want for a Tournament of Sky Warlock. So, and a total stats 63 is pretty good as well. An excellent roll for an excellent exotic, and I highly recommend you pick it up if you don't have an amazing one already. Outside of that, let's take a look at the legendary weapons and legendary armors. First up, we have the 7 Seraph Carbine with an okay roll, good stability, good range options, although I think there is a damage option. You could do a little bit better, but pretty damn good roll anyways. 7 Seraph Revolver, you want Vorpal, you want time payload, you want 4th time the charm, just nothing you really want here. we have the Last Dance, a pretty good sidearm with an okay set of rolls for range, but again, does have a damage perk in the possibilities. Timeless Vertex, which is an adaptive frame, which is a decent frame to have, has Demolitionist, has some range stuff on it, but again, I think that there's some better utility stuff on this, and I personally prefer auto-loading on fusion rifles. For the sniper here, Long Shadow, Hipfire, Rampage, not really what you're looking for this, and personally, I like having the medium or short scope. It only has the medium. We have Honor's Edge, which is an adaptive frame, which has Tireless and Shattering, really not what I'm looking for. And finally, Frozen Orbit, which actually has Surplus and Box Breathing, which may make it a better PvE roll, although I imagine there are going to be different options. Box Breathing is really nice for PvE for sure. And Surplus is just great across the board. Although I would have still probably liked to see Snapshot. Even in PvE, it's very nice. And then finally, the legendary armors for the Hunters. Keep in mind that the Hunters do have a different set of armor than the other ones. But we actually have some pretty good stats across the board. You can see here we have a 63, we have a 63, we have a 65. This is a pretty good distribution as well, and the rest are just kind of okay, but pretty good rolls if you don't have a good set. And of course, make sure you're picking up your exotic cipher quest, which gives you an exotic cipher for using it on exotic engrams, or the archive, which is very, very useful and basically free. And of course, exotic engram, to receive an exotic you've never received before, and it's a high stat roll. And apparently I got an enhancement core as well. I don't know what that's about. 65! That's a lot of intellect. Ooh, goddamn. Ooh, unfortunately, I do have a 67 roll. Ah, looks like you're going into it, buddy. When the Xur says the dust has commingled, what the hell is that supposed to mean? The dust comes together? Anyways, that's going to be pretty much the end of it. Of course, come check out my live streams right after these Xur videos, as well as all the times on screen right now. I want you to hit me. Hit me! Big shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Without their help, videos like this really wouldn't be possible. Specifically, a big thank you to Mary Voodoo, Mom, Dad, Loco, Dr. Strange, Joe Smith, Monday, Stu Bachman, Raymond, Shonen, you Plant, Casey Reagan for their support on Patreon. And that's it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.